Hi there, medical wildcats. I'm Joseph Guggenheim. I'm a 1972 alum of the medical school. And the third Wednesday of July is always National Hot Dog Day. So in observance of that, my topic today is Oscar Mayer, a family of German immigrants who came to Chicago, settling on the north side with other German immigrants. And they were one of the factors in Chicago becoming the meatpacking capital of the country. Let's do a little pop quiz first. Who was the sausage king of Chicago? Was it Ferris Bueller, who was doing business as Abe Froman when he tried to get seated at a fancy French restaurant on his day off? Or perhaps Jim Boardman, the CEO of Vienna Beef? Some people feel you can't make a true Chicago hot dog unless you use a Vienna beef frank. Or was it Oscar Mayer and his family? Let's talk about Oscar Mayer. Second question in the quiz. Which of these was a real person? Obviously, Oscar Mayer, because I just told you that. But look over the names and take a guess who was fictional and who was real. Betty Crocker and Aunt Jemima were not real people. And how many Oscar Mayers were there? One, two, three, four, five, six or more? The answer, there were six. Three of them, Oscar Ferdinand Meyer, Oscar Gottfried Meyer, etc. Those first three were in the meatpacking industry, and the last three were not. And Oscar, the patriarch of the family, the first one, his father was named Ferdinand Oscar Mayer instead of Oscar Ferdinand. And some of them were spelled Oskar, but these were the three that were spelled Oscar and in the meatpacking industry. The Oscar Mayer family that founded the meatpacking company consists of three generations. The first generation was three brothers. Oscar Ferdinand came over, immigrated from Germany, and he lived at 5727 Sheridan Road, which is right at the point where Lakeshore Drive merges into Sheridan Road. And then he had his brothers Gottfried and Max, who came over later. The second generation consisted of two cousins, Oscar Gottfried, and he lived on Forest Avenue in Evanston. Last time I checked, his house was still present, but it was unoccupied and it needed a lot of renovation. And then there was Carl. The third generation, Oscar Gustav Meyer, lived in Madison, Wisconsin, because the company temporarily moved to Madison. Oscar Gustav was quiet and not publicity seeking. And a lot of people, even in Madison, didn't even know that Oscar Mayer was a real name. They thought it might be a fictitious name like Betty Crocker. Oscar Ferdinand was the first one. He came to the United States from Germany in 1873 at the age of 14. He was answering an ad for a butcher's boy, which is an assistant in a meat market in Detroit. He moved to Chicago 3 years later in 1876 to work at Kohlhammer's meat market, and then 6 years with the Armour Company in the Chicago stockyards. His brother Gottfried was an experienced Wurstmacher in Germany, and he joined Oscar in the business at a rented location on North Sedgwick Street, deep in the heart of the German neighborhood. The business was very successful, and the landlord was very jealous, thinking that their success was due to the fact they were in his building. So he refused to renew the lease and opened his own meat market, which failed. And the two Meyer brothers opened their own store at a large facility 2 blocks away. Max had immigrated from Germany to join the company as a bookkeeper. So now the three brothers ran the company. Gottfried oversaw production, Oscar watched over the entire operation, and Max was the bookkeeper. The brothers were sponsors of the 1893 Columbian Exposition World's Fair German exhibit. By 1900, their sausages were in such demand that they were delivering them by horse-drawn cart all over Chicago and the suburbs. In 1904, the Meyers became one of the first meat packers to brand their own product. And at first they tried names like Edelweiss, which was stamped on the bacon rinds and printed on packages. And they also used names like Moose, approved, and Meats of Good Taste. And finally, in 1929, they labeled their wieners Oscar Mayer wieners. In 1924, Cousin Carl eliminated the need to ask butchers for bacon by displaying sliced bacon in a clear package with single shingled slices. And this new package allowed the customer to look at the bacon without having to ask the butcher for it. This new packaging greatly increased Oscar Mayer's bacon sales. The Department of Agriculture ruled that bacon packages must be transparent on both sides so the consumer can see just how fatty the bacon is. And Swanson patented the shingle style display, as seen here in the Oscar Mayer picture on the right. Oscar Mayer patented the package that was transparent on both sides. Oscar Mayer came up with other packaging innovations. They innovated it with the cartridge pack in 1944, which automatically banded hot dogs in bunches. The slice pack, as shown on the right, debuted in 1950. Sliced meat could be packaged together in a vacuum plastic package. And there was a stripping machine that was invented in 1953, which made skinless meat. Oscar Mayer not only made money by selling to the consumer, but by leasing their technical innovations to competing meat packers. Upton Sinclair's novel, The Jungle, which was published in 1906, caused consumers to question the safety of meat products. The Food Safety Inspection Service was created in 1906 as a government agency. Oscar Mayer was one of the first meat brands to have their products federally inspected, and they advertised their products were undergoing federal inspection and used this as an advertising point. They proudly began putting the brand name on their products in 1904 and were the first to print the use-by date on the package beginning in 1951. In 2017, Oscar Mayer announced that they were eliminating nitrates, nitrites, artificial preservatives, and fillers from their hot dogs. They were committed to responsibly raise pork. In 2012, the Humane Society praised Kraft, who bought out Oscar Mayer, and Mayer for promising to end the use of gestation crates for pigs. Gestation crates were crates only slightly larger than a sow, too small for the hogs to turn around. They were committed to not using pork products supplied by any farmers who used these gestation crates. In 2014, they announced a program at the University of Wisconsin to teach students about animal welfare issues. The Wiener whistle was debuted in 1951 by Carl Mayer, Oscar Ferdinand Mayer's nephew, as a promotional gimmick. It was included in a package of Wieners in 1958. At first, they were handed out at appearances of the Wienermobile, and they were a hit at the 1964 New York World's Fair. They made their movie debut in 1994, co-starring with Tim Allen in The Santa Claus. But the whistles were discontinued because a physician warned the company that the danger of getting stuck in a child's windpipe could be a problem, although it had never occurred. So 2 million whistles were scrapped. The advertising jingle about, "Oh, I'd love to be an Oscar Mayer Wiener," debuted on the radio in 1963. It was composed by Richard Trentlage in about an hour. It was chosen from over 100 other submissions, and the tune is popular with marching bands to this day. It is the longest running continually used commercial still in use in the history of American advertising. The Baloney Song debuted in 1976, and it was written by Jerry Ringling. The original plan was to have several 4-year-old children sing it together. It was thought that these 4-year-olds did not have the ability to sing the complete song, so they thought that if they get a group of them, some of them will always be singing while others are not. So the recording crew worked, and when they finally finished for the day, one little boy decided he could sing it alone, and he's the one shown on the right. This is 4-year-old Andy Lambros. He asked for a chance to sing the song, and he sang it perfectly on the first attempt. Lambros went on to appear in more than 20 commercials for other companies. You can watch this on YouTube, and at the end of the recording, he says, "How's that?" So he got it right on the first try. Bologna resembled Italian mortadella. Mortadella is a sausage made of finely minced pork, the white specks in the slice on the right, with chunks of pork fat and also pistachios. In 1661, the Italian government established standards for mortadella, but the U.S. banned it from coming from Italy from 1967 until 2000 due to an outbreak of African swine fever in Italy. Since the Italian government prohibited Oscar Mayer from calling their product mortadella, the company named it after the Italian city of Bologna. It is spelled Bologna like the city, but pronounced Bologna, and became associated with depression and tough times financially. There was anti-German sentiment before both world wars, but German Americans comprised the largest ethnic group in Chicago. As the First World War began in Europe, German and Irish communities tended to sympathize with Germany and their allies, or at least favor U.S. neutrality. Once the U.S. entered the war, German Americans and their cultures fell under increased suspicion. Oscar Mayer helped feed the Allies. In 1917, sales had grown to 11 million, one-third of it from government purchases for the troops fighting in Europe. The company's efforts in the First World War helped establish the hot dog, a cultural import from Germany, as an iconic American food. And German-sounding foods were renamed, such as sauerkraut became Liberty cabbage, and Frankfurters became hot dogs. During the Depression, Meyer ordered his factory to make certain number of sausages every day to be distributed free to the people who lined up at the factory. During the Second World War, the company shifted its focus to making canned meats to feed the troops, and they called their product fighting food. In 1936, Carl Meyer conceived of a wiener-shaped vehicle and named it the Wienermobile. During the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the vehicle was piloted by a little person who waved at crowds and dispensed wiener whistles. But the early models required the driver to be of short stature due to the compact interior. These drivers were nicknamed Little Oscar because of the beloved, and they became the beloved company spokesperson. The character of Little Oscar was played by several people, including Meinhard Rabe, who was 3 feet 4 inches tall and a salesman for Oscar Mayer. He played Little Oscar for 30 years. He died at the age of 94. He was the oldest Munchkin character in The Wizard of Oz. Another Little Oscar was George Molchan, who played the character for 36 years. He died at 82. He also played a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz. Fellow actor Meinhard Rabe had encouraged Mr. Molchan to audition for the role, which he did for 36 years. And at his funeral, about 50 mourners sang choruses of the jingle and blew wiener whistles. The first Wienermobile model cruised the streets of Chicago. Its interior was mustard and ketchup colored, and a horn played the wiener jingle in 21 different genres. Beginning in 1936, drivers known as hot doggers were chosen from recent college graduates. They selected 12 from approximately 1,500 applications each year. Aspiring drivers were educated on driving this vehicle at the Hot Dog High, and a second hot dogger rode shot bun, waving at passersby. Currently, the Wienermobile models drive about 1,000 miles a week. Fans are invited to ride in them after they fasten their meat belt. Invited passengers wave at bystanders through the sunroof. And the Wienermobiles make goodwill visits to children's hospitals around the country. One version of the Wienermobile, known as the Winnebago, sleeps 2 people, and sleeping nights were auctioned off at the 2016 Super Bowl. If you're in Chicago, you can rent it for $136 a night, less than most Chicago hotels. The refrigerator is stocked with hot dogs. Al Unser Jr. drove a Wienermobile 110 miles an hour at the Indianapolis Speedway in 1986. But the Wienermobile has a rather checkered history. License plates were stolen in 2007. The catalytic converter was stolen in 2023, and it crashed into a house near Milwaukee in 2009. The inaugural Wienermobile race was held this year on Friday, May 23rd at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 6 Wienermobiles competed, each representing a regional favorite hot dog. Chai Dog represented the Midwest. The Wienermobiles were driven by hot doggers, including Sarah Kraut and Mustard Maddie, who relished her win in the Slaw Dog. Oscar Mayer currently makes about 113 products. I found the list on the internet and counted 113. And these that are listed include only a sample of them. Kraft Foods bought out Oscar Mayer, and they've been owned by Kraft since 1989. The company started out in Chicago in 1883 with Oscar Mayer coming from Germany. And in 1957, the company moved to Madison, Wisconsin for a few years. In 2018, they came back to their Chicago headquarters, and now the headquarters are in the Aon Center on Randolph Street near the Loop. Well, let's get together again virtually next month. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected with each other. And I look forward to our meeting next month. Thank you.